Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. Today, we're going to talk about solar with a twist, customer experience, and also growth marketing. Without any further ado, Garrett, if you could introduce yourself and the company you represent, we'll kick it off with that.
My name is Garrett Smith, and I'm the president of the Very Good Solar Company. And we've been doing that for about 3 years now. Before that, I'd helped build another direct to consumer solar model, essentially.
That's the twist I was talking about, the direct to consumer element. And I'm excited to hear about that because there's a lot of changes, to say the least, in the industry. There is some wave of change that is hitting the industry, we can say almost. And a lot of companies will have to adopt. And I think this is the way to go, which again benefits the consumer, which are homeowners, some small, bigger business owners. I mean, I feel like the bigger business owners, they have it figured out already, but the smaller business owners that are hit by constantly increasing energy prices, homeowners where we live, we had 75% increase in energy costs in the last 11 months. It's hitting a lot of homeowners. So let's talk about that. Where did the idea come from? And by the way, such a good name for a company. Tell us the story behind that as well.
Yeah. So I have a diverse or different background than normal sales rep. I came from Lululemon. So I ran a store out here in Salt Lake City 10 years ago or whatever else. And really, truly, one of the great things about Lululemon, regardless of like you buy their products or not, they're really customer centric. So really, the second that customer walks in the door, they're making sure that that customer is covered, that you're taking care of their needs, getting the stuff they need. It's not about you. It's about the customer, which is just a really cool way to be able to, like, I guess, sell or be able to educate. And they essentially call all their sales reps in the stores educators. And the purpose behind that is like, hey, let's educate on the product. And I think that like even that small mindset of like calling them an educator versus a sales rep is like, we're not here to sell you, we're here to educate you. And really, we're trying to get you what you need. So like, are you a runner? Are you do you play soccer? Do you do yoga? How often do you do it? Do you do hot yoga? All this kind of stuff matters to be able to get the customer in the right mindset to get them the right product. And I think that when you get the customer the right product, they're more apt to come back, spend more money at your store, refer their friends and family. So you're playing the long game instead of that short-term goal. And so when I got involved with solar, I learned really quickly that really, truly, solar was like another just sales channel. And a lot of people that were selling solar didn't really care about solar. And that's not to say that there's not some people that are out there that aren't, pushing goods things and trying to sell solar in the correct way. But I learned that, hey, it's a recruiting game. The more people you recruit, the more money that you essentially make. And no one's really pushing the consumer first. And so they're really pushing like recruit your friends, do this, do that. And so two things happen for that. Number one, people don't really learn about solar, meaning like what it actually does, what it doesn't do. Maybe it's just not good for one of the consumers that's there. Like maybe their house is surrounded by trees. Maybe they have this huge north-facing roof that just doesn't make solar cost efficient for them. And so they don't understand the ins and outs of solar. The other thing that it does is when you're pushing just recruiting, you're never thinking about the customer. So you're never thinking about, okay, who would buy this? Why would they buy it? Why is it important? Why is it not important? What's the alternative? And so because of this, you get a really bad customer experience. You always get an experience with the customer regardless. It could be good, it could be bad, but there's always an experience. And when you don't put the customer first, it generally speaking is a bad experience. And another thing that happens in solar is the solar is a long process. So depending on where you're at, who your installer is, the way that your city does permits, you could be anywhere from a month to get installed and turned on to 6 months to a year. It just depends. And what happens is when a sales rep sells a customer, what I learned really quickly is the second that the docs are signed and that they just kind of disappear. And they're like, the second they get paid, they're done. But the problem is the customer's not done. They still have to get their system turned on. They have to get permits and all that kind of stuff. And so really, truly what the goal was like, hey, let's build something that like we think about the customer 6 months from now, a year from now, where they can be like, I had a great experience with solar. And I want my friends and family to go ahead and do this as well. And it wasn't a terrible experience. The other thing that we did too is we decided if we are building a company, like a true direct-to-consumer company, let's take out the sales commission on it. And let's just say, hey, let's take the educators that Lululemon had, that same idea, And because we know that customers are going to have questions about solar, that's just going to happen regardless because it's an intricate process. There's a lot of things that like they don't know what to ask at the time, and then as it progresses, they're like, hey, what about this? What about this? So the first thing we decided is let's have educators, not sales reps, and let's sell everyone for as low as we can sell without while still trying to make a commission. Sorry, not a commission, a overhead for our company or be able to be profitable or whatnot. So we decided to do that. And we also work with Freedom Forever, which they're the largest installer. They're a owner in this company too. So we're able to get really good rates that way too and be able to install. So we decided to do all that. And we decided with the name, like, let's just call it Very Good Solar Company. Like we're not, we're not claiming we're the best. We're not claiming whatever else. We're just very good. You want a good experience. And really, truly, that's what it became. The other thing that we noticed was you deal with any sales company, any solar company, they have hundreds of sales reps and you don't know what experience you're going to get. So our goal was to take one person, which we call her June, and she's littered off our website and all of our stuff. And
I was
she's
about
the
to ask.
educator. Yeah. So she's our educator. You call in, you talk to, we have AI June as well. That's June.
I mean, the website is amazing.
Yeah, it took forever to like get like again, the customer was we looked at like a bunch of solar websites and we're like, okay, what can we mimic? And really the answer was none because like we wanted to put that customer first. And so think about like Jake from State Farm or Flo from Progressive. That's the idea of June. And so we truly just wanted to litter her everywhere and be like, she's going to make you feel comfortable going solar. So she's in all our videos. She's the one explaining solar. She's great.
I'm going to steal the concept, my friend. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Not for solar, of course, but the idea, I love everything about this website. It makes you feel so welcome. So such a good experience, like you said, from first moment. I mean, I'm always funnel hacking, website hacking. I love to see the experience from the customer perspective, how the experience is, how easy it is. I love video aspect of it and the personal touch to it. And I feel like June is already killing it. So yeah, continue. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's the whole goal, right? Even on the site, as you look through like the stuff that's highlighted or like the little doodles is supposed to be like June, right? Like she's the one like taking these out as far as that goes. She's the one writing the prices and stuff like that. And the other cool thing is like you go solar, your neighbor goes solar, they're on the site, they're going to get the same experience, So it's like there's no negotiation. There's like we were talking about earlier, there's no calling your manager and be like, let me see if I can get a lower price or let me see if I can do this. You know what I mean? It's like we know we're the lowest. There may be, I don't know, a small company that be lower, something like that. I don't know. We haven't really ran into that yet, but we know we're the lowest. We know we offer a good product. We know it's going to get installed. So we're like confident with that, which is really cool to be able to say like, hey, everyone basically gets the friends and family discount and no matter what.
In June, speaking of solar, June is the month, one of the highest yields for solar. So June produces during the month of June, most of the time worldwide, probably except Australia, you produce the most amount of energy from your solar system. So that's a great name for it.
It's actually why her name is June. So that's funny that you said that. Yeah, that's exactly why. That's where we got the name from. We thought about naming the company June at first or something like that. And then we decided, let's just call our spokesperson June. But that's the exact reason, which that's awesome.
We had here in where we live 2.1 yield, which is pretty decent for solar. So that means
for sure.
Your return on investment is much shorter than in places like, for example, Europe, where I'm from Poland, where I had no idea why people. That's actually where my solar journey started. But I had no idea why people install solar there because there's maybe 7 months a year where there's no sun. But surprisingly, it still produces the yield. Obviously, so yield, for those who don't know, is essentially how much energy can you produce out of every kilowatt or every 3-4 panels that you have. How much power can they then produce for your home that you can use for your appliances and vehicles, whatever you. So yeah, but my first installation was on a roof like this. The roofs are usually like this in Europe because of the snow. So in the winter time, and was crazy to get up on the roof and do the installation. We had one short guy who he called himself a little monkey because the way he was jumping on the roofs. He put the first rail on and he would stand on the first rail, hold himself with one hand and do all the railing and everything. So yeah, but it works even in the climates where there's not sunlight here in California for 11.5 months of the year.
Yeah, that's the best part about California, right? Like the weather is so awesome all the time. It's expensive, but it's awesome.
I
You g
know. Yeah, I love it. I love
yeah, it feels like, Europeans are also very much intertwined with the environment and trying to, like, make sure that they're doing their part, which is awesome. You know, to your point too, there's small roofs and all that kinda stuff, but really truly the adaptation of solar in Europe has been awesome.
and it's much faster. They out of the we're talking about direct to consumer, cutting up the middleman as far as like commission and the whole process, which we can touch on again in a second, because I would love to hear about the customer experience there. But also, what they did in Europe, and I hope they will not change it, is they cut off the middleman as far as the bureaucracy that goes into creating, finishing a solar project, if you will, the interconnection, the whole process. Most of the systems are self-financed, so the company doesn't have to bring in a partner like financing partner. You can pretty much sell a solar system today and have it pretty much up and running next week, Monday, maybe even sometimes earlier. You can, if you can install in the next 24, 48 hours, if you have the materials and everything ready, the way it might have changed. If you're from Europe and you're listening and it has changed, I'm sorry, but that's my experience. You literally finish the installation, you call it's your roof, so you don't have to deal with your city most of the times, depends on the jurisdiction. But then you call the utility and tell them that you have solar, and essentially they tell you to provide the information you need, and that's it. They change your billing to reflect the solar production that you have right now, and you're good to go. So it's much easier. Like you said earlier, I remember every county, every city, not county, every city here has different regulations as far as solar goes, different paperwork, different requirements. So I remember driving from city to city and applying for permits with the building and safety department, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. And it's rarely over the counter type of thing where you walk away with a permit and you can install. Most of the times you have to wait and wait and wait and wait, and the homeowner's waiting and doesn't know what's happening. Why is he waiting? What's happening? Is it the company? Is it the manufacturer? Is it the installation crew? Or is this the city? Can't be the city. Why would the city not allow me to go
Sure.
solar right away, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many things that happen here, and yeah, to your point, there's so many working parts, and you need everyone to work together. And when the utility company, unfortunately, you would think like they would be great, and they don't like to lose customers, and so sometimes they drag stuff out. Sometimes they're great too. It just really, to your point, it just really depends. You know, I'm certain they're all pumped with what's happening with knocking out the tax credit with the new bill and stuff like that. But yeah, just really depends. That's awesome. The way I didn't know that about Europe, but that's awesome. That makes sense to me. And I do think that they have pushed really hard to make sure that going solar is not super complicated, which is
Yeah,
cool.
it's obviously it's also changing. There's constantly something new that happens, but the overall the push happened, and Germany was probably the first country in Europe that made such a big push, and they also got a lot of land that was unutilized. So when you drive across freeway, usually that's the land that you can't do any crops, you can't do much farming there or any at all because of the noise, because of the obviously the freeways. So that's where they start building solar farms along the freeways, because that's the space that you can utilize for energy production and power up the local communities there. So that was another big push there. So I remember. Talk us through the very good customer experience. What's the process there? Like customer, I saw on your website, you can type in your address. First of all, how do customers, homeowners find you, or how do you find them, and what happens next during the process?
So there's a lot of ways that they can find us. So we obviously advertise online, and you'll see June in all of those videos as far as that goes, whether it be online advertisements. You can search us on Google or just referrals from friends and family, stuff like that. So part of the process for us was we knew that generally speaking, to get a solar quote, you had to talk to somebody. And no one really knows what a solar quote means, meaning like, okay, why do I have to wait for someone to come to my house? Why do I have to wait for them to sit down? And then they'll walk you through a whole entire sales process. So like Matt, if I were to sit you down in a normal solar thing, they're not going to tell you the price until they've sold you,
Yeah.
and until you get to the very end, right? So is that a good price? Is that not a good price? People just don't know what they're relating it to is what your utility bill is. And so not everybody, but generally speaking, the way that works is a sales rep will find your utility bill and they'll lower the cost just so it's just barely below what you're paying for utility. And that's how they make their commission. That's how they do their business. It's not like, okay, how much can I save Matt? It's how much money can I make while still potentially saving the customer money. And so what we decided to do is like, okay, well, instead of that, can we put together something that allows a customer to go in, get a quote without talking to anybody and see like, okay, does this make sense or not? What we found was the hardest part was making sure that the quote was accurate. So it's not like a bait and switch. So the majority of our tech, there's other companies that you can put in your address, but it's more of an algorithm of like, hey, maybe based off this is how many panels they need. So we used AI and pulled from a bunch of different places to make sure that the quote was accurate. And that's honestly, truly what has taken the longest for us to get right. And so you go in, you put it in, it's going to pull up your utility company. You're going to be able to put in, obviously, like if you have your utility bill, being able to put in what your average bill is going to give you the best quote. Meaning like if you spend 10,000 over the year, but you put in 5,000, obviously it's not going to be accurate. And so we're measuring the roof, we're looking at the azimuth, we're looking at the pitch, we're looking at the sun hours, we're looking at all that kind of stuff. And then we're also looking at what your utility rate is. And so we put that in and spit out a quote for you. And that will give you the options, whether that be what your cash price is, what your lease price is, what your loan price is, right there, after like a 30 seconds of going through and putting that in. And so it was really important for us to be able to say, cool, let's give them a quote before they talk to anyone and see if they're interested or not interested. And what we found is when people can go in and put it in themselves, they generally speaking are down to ask questions and things like that. The other thing that was really important to us was we didn't want to close you the second that we talk to you. Solar generally works. They'll knock on your door, they'll call you on the phone, and they'll try to close you right then and there. To us, that's not, this is a big purchase. And most people, it's not like, man, you may be thinking about what car I want next, what stereo system I want next, what, a house, but no one's thinking like, I'm going to stick this dope ass solar system on my house. They're not thinking about that on a daily basis, And so for us, it's like, hey, we're introducing this new idea of how to buy power that they never previously thought about. And so we want them to be bought in now and in the future. So generally speaking, when we talk to somebody, it's a longer cycle of education, which is what we consider, instead of like, okay, Matt, everything sounds great, let's get you signed up. It's not how it works. And so when you're ready to go solar, or if you're not, we support that 100%. And so I think I would say that that's the biggest difference for us, is like we allow customers to like text in or call in if they have a question. And to that point too, like this is why we have educators versus sales reps. Maybe one of the people that sold them or talked to them the day before is not there today. And so we just have somebody else take over that same thing. And because we teach the same things the same way and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter to us who talks to the customer or whatever else. We just want to make sure they go solar if it makes sense for them. And then if it makes sense for them, regardless if it does or it doesn't, they're referring their friends and family. And so it's just a really comfortable environment for a customer to text in, call in. Maybe their wife has a question, or maybe their husband has a question that they didn't think about. The other thing too, what I notice a lot of times is like you go through what solar does and how it's positive and how it works. And there's so much information that some of the stuff that, regardless if you talked about it or not, they just don't remember that next day or that next week. And they're like, hey, how does this work with my utility company again? Am I paying for this? What am I paying for? Is there connection fees? I heard this. And a lot of times what we have kind of found is like customers that had bad experiences tell new people going solar, hey, this is what I've found. And they feel comfortable coming back to us and saying, hey, what about this? What about this? As opposed to like just ghosting us and not telling us what to do. The other cool thing is generally speaking, when somebody goes solar with us, they generally go solar. So it's not like solar, generally speaking, has about a 50% cancellation rate when somebody signs up to go solar, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
When you think about that, like, which is like sometimes why, these origination fees are high and all that kind of stuff, because like these lenders, they don't know if someone's going solar or not. So generally speaking, you're going solar when you're going with us, that it's going to get installed and all that kind of stuff. But then once it gets installed, we don't stop. So we continually drip on you and give you information and keep you updated, regardless of like, maybe your city's dragging their feet coming out or whatever else. So we make sure that you know what's going on with your project. And then post, turned on, we're here to answer any questions as well. So for us, it's not just sell, make money, get out. It's that long-term process for us to make sure that you feel comfortable.
What a great concept. Oh, is June also collecting success stories? I feel like that's, I don't feel like, I know that this is a low trust, rather low trust, high skepticism industry because of the reason we covered. I mean, for someone who is first time encountering anything solar, it would be feeling like we talk Hebrew here. And we touched probably on 15 to 20% of what solar actually is. Forget about photovoltaics and how
Sure,
the process works from that we can get from the sun. Is it the heat? Is it something else?
sure,
What is turning into energy? Is it DC, AC? How does it work? Right? What's an inverter? But we don't have to do that education here. But what I'm trying to say is that it's a low trust industry. So landing page of love, wall of love, or anything that shows success stories in raw format that is authentic, that we know it's not fake, it's not Photoshop, it's not edited. Is June also taking care of that part? Obviously, not right after the installation was done, because you can talk about the process, but ideally, 6 months in or 12 months in, when they get the true up bill and it's a nice number on it, and they are not only contributing to the environment, the bettering of the environment, but also bettering of their wallets, because solar brings savings if you do it correctly. If you don't pay someone a 5-figure commission check out
sure,
of
sure.
your pocket. But yes, what's how do you approach success stories from customers that go solar with you?
Yeah, so we're in the process of building a testimonial page to that point, which hopefully is up soon. And then what we're also doing with the same regard, we want to get testimonials for customers so people can relate to other customers that say, okay, hey, maybe this person that is like me went solar, or this is this person's experience. What we also want to do as well is we noticed that like there's a lot of companies that send out like their personal swag, like, hey, here's our company, wear that around. Instead of doing that, what we have started to do is we send out very good hats, very good shirts. It just says very good on it. It doesn't say the Very Good Solar Company. It just says very good. So we're sending out those to our customers as well. Yeah, yeah. I'll send you a very good hat so you can have. But yeah, the idea is like, hey, like let's just send them something that's like that very good's a cool saying. It's something that like we obviously like we keep very good in our same brand font and stuff like that, but we want to like give that experience to someone that they can go out on, they can go run and wear a very good hat or something like that, or go out with their friends and not have to like rep our company with but while still repping our company. And so, yeah, our testimonial page is coming, and some of the interviews, we do some interviews with June, and then some are just like they have their phone out and they're just recording a quick little whatever else. Yeah.
It's a good conversation starter. A very good hat. I love it. I mean, I'm curious about that right away. I would ask someone, hey, what's behind it? There's this Dead Gang company that maybe you've seen it.
Yeah.
Where Yeah, so it's actually a friend who started. We had a client with a similar branding, but it's taking over the world. I mean, so many influencers are wearing it just organically because of what's kind of like behind it, the dead gang. You're a father, you want to become part of the dead gang, right? So very good.
Yeah.
It brings good emotions just by seeing this, right? So, but that testimonial page, I love this. And also one thing I wanted to note or to share with you, maybe that's a interesting concept for this. I love stealing. That's why I've mentioned stealing from your website earlier, from different industries and bringing the good from their industries into your company, your industry, and company essentially. So one thing that came to mind as you were explaining this, and we touched on this before recording as well, is the word of mouth on steroids, if you will. So if you have a great experience naturally, you might talk about the great experience with your friends, but usually it's the bad experience that gets you to talk and open your mouth and share with the world how bad your experience was, right? That one
Sure.
restaurant, 1-star review because you didn't like the way they prepared your meal and you want to talk about it. But when it comes to having 5 good meals in a row, and then not, you would never come to open up your app, Yelp, whatever it is, and leaving that 5-star review. You have to be asked about it and so on. So there is a platform in the e-commerce world that is essentially allowing you, after every purchase, I'm sure you buy stuff online like we all do outside of Amazon. So when you finish the purchase, you bought a product, they make it extremely easy for you to grab a link and text it to your friend or family member who might be interested in the same type of product. And then they do the software does all the backend with tracking where that link went. If they actually claimed it, if they did, you get a benefit for your next purchase, or you collect points, whatever, however you want to set it up. And also your friend or family member gets certain discount for their first purchase. And obviously that's how you can spread the word and do some good as well and benefit from it, what I wanted to
Sure.
say. So that took off. Actually, a friend started the company and he made an exit a couple of weeks ago for a significant amount. So it took off. I have another friend who's doing this for local businesses. And I feel like in solar, this could be it. I mean, this could be something that made sense. Obviously, it would have to have a little bit different twist because we're talking about not $100 purchase, not $1,000 purchase, but usually it's 10,000 and up, to say the least. Most of the times it's
Sure.
higher than it. I'm not sure what's the average price, but probably around 20,000, I could imagine. So, but the word of mouth element would be definitely interesting here as well, and from the tech perspective as well. Because I know that I've seen many companies, when they have sales reps and all that, they make sure that if you have someone in your network that can go solar, that they're the person to talk to, right? So they grab those referrals. You're doing the direct to consumer way, so you're skipping that part. And I feel like there still could be an element where could benefit the consumer in the end of the day. At the end of the day, right? So what can we do to help you and your network to go solar, and perhaps you can benefit from it as well?
But yeah, to your point, even to that point, is going to the website and just putting in your address and seeing if it makes sense for you, right? Like even that simple of a thing where it's like, hey, this may make sense to you, may not. Just go do this without talking to anybody, and then kind of start making decisions that way. So to your point, I mean, that's a great idea in general, just for that aspect of like get a solar quote in seconds without talking to somebody and
Yeah,
see if it makes
and
sense or whatever. Or
yes,
even like if you have a sales rep at your house, go get a solar quote and see if it's something that's like comparable to what you're being offered. Like,
and
are you
see
being taken advantage of or not?
and find out what true transparency stands for if you
Yeah.
were two quotes for that. And that could be it. And also another concept. I don't know. I'm just in a brainstorming session. I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah. Yeah.
session here. Cool concept that I found from the info product space and then online education space. You've mentioned education as well, which is extremely important aspect in the solar space. Also, doing the live webinars, where educational webinars, where you bring in homeowners who went solar with you, and that could be powerful
It's true.
marketing as well, and help spread the word, and also have a cool interaction with your past customers. I was invited as a potential customer, so I can talk from that perspective, or client, and I loved it. I mean, it wasn't like pushy at all. It was education only. It had one moderator and obviously one host. The guest, I mean, the previous clients were sharing real stories that all most of them resonated with me. So it was a great experience and was a good environment to learn, see examples of how it works. Because if you, Mr. Homeowner, went solar, you paid XYZ because you use so much energy, right? And then homeowner B had paid more, but also they consume a lot more because they have two electric vehicles, right? So you can see different perspectives, and why solar is not, I'm sorry, one size fit all. And if you're going solar and you think now you have solar, you can purchase two electric vehicles. Prior to solar, you had just gas cars, and all of a sudden your electric bill is higher than it was, and you have solar. Well, surprise, surprise, your electric vehicle probably added another 80% of your consumption, if not more. So that's almost like having two houses now, not one house that needs
It's true.
solar.
It's
So
true.
very cool concept there that perhaps you can, maybe you already are, but perhaps you can implement. And June will be a great host.
Yeah, yeah, no, we have not done that, but that is a great idea. I really like that idea that, the social proof is always good, especially like generally speaking, a lot of homeowners have the same concerns or questions as other homeowners. So it's nice
Yeah.
it'd be nice to like be able to, they could talk to people that were in their same situation.
And you're leading with transparency anyway, so community aspect, that would bring the community aspect to it. And I wouldn't mind seeing even like a school.com. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the platform. It's essentially school with K school. Do you know Alex Ramosi?
Yeah, of course.
So he recently invested or partner up with the founder Sam Oven, who's the founder of School. So essentially, it's a community platform. They took the best from Facebook groups and and Reddit and all other platforms gamified it a little bit and created communities that you can monetize as a creator. So I wouldn't mind seeing a community like this when you bring on homeowners, potential homeowners, and that's also where you can do your video courses, educational courses, and they can all be free if you want. You don't have to monetize, and you can host your webinars there too. So I feel like this could simplify it. And also, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a great way to be educated and hear from different perspectives, different homeowners, and you continue to build relationship with them, and those relationships will compound over time that you've built with those. So overall, great concept. Now, a question I ask all of my guests, and I will ask you, of course, as well. Garrett, you have an opportunity to speak to Garrett from when he was started, from let's say the Lululemon's days.
Yeah,
What
sure.
advice do you have for him? He's eager to join the entrepreneurship world and do something on his own. What advice do you have for him?
Man, I do ultra running, so I do like 100 milers
Well,
to the mountains and things like that. And I think that like the advice that I would give is I think that it's really easy to start and it's really easy to look up at like these big mountains, right? And be like,
mm,
I'm gonna go up this mountain tomorrow and it's gonna be no problem and it's gonna be cool. It might be hard, whatever else. And then you get out there and it's like raining and it's windy and you start climbing and it's like it's really hard, it hurts your legs and your lungs start burning and you're like, I'll just come back tomorrow because it's gonna be easier tomorrow. And I think that the advice that I would give myself is like you learn in those hard days and you learn when you like just decide like I'm doing this regardless of what the circumstances are. Like it's raining, it's snowing, it's hot, it's good it just doesn't matter because each day brings a new thing and I think that too often we approach something with like big eyes and our like full ambition of like I'm going to accomplish this no matter what. And then when it actually happens, it's like, well, I'm just going to come back tomorrow, the next day, and then it's like you're 2 years later and you haven't done anything. And
mm,
I would say that like my advice to myself would be is it's hard and it's sometimes it's raining and sometimes like you get those no's and sometimes those rejections happen and sometimes like it didn't go the way that you thought it was going to go, but it's important in those exact moments that like you continually climb that mountain and you don't turn around and say tomorrow because tomorrow often just never happens. And so that's my advice to myself is just keep climbing regardless of what it is and what the weather's like and all that kind of stuff.
tomorrow is not guaranteed. That's a big message. But what a great advice! And I'm already out of breath just by thinking about running through the Utah mountains in Utah. I've done some installations there in Utah around Salt Lake City, solar installations on farms, and it brought back memories from Poland
Sure.
and where I grew up around. And there was a great environment, and I would love to come and snowboard sometime soon. Running, you said 100 miles? Did I hear it correctly?
Yeah, it's old. Yeah, 100 miles, 50 miles, all that kind of stuff. It's fun. A lot of
Well,
lessons to learn for sure.
I can't imagine. I'm learning how to run right now. I know how it sounds, but I realized I don't know. Didn't know how to run. I didn't have that skill. I was running. I'm, pretty. I would consider myself an athletic person because I work out since I'm 13, all
Sure,
kinds of different disciplines. But running was never my forte. But my goal is more to run 1 mile as fast as possible and learn how to run
sure.
fast rather than long distance. But chapeau, wow, hats off to you for even I admire people like you because just thinking that, hey, I could run 100 miles. I mean, just 99.9999% of people would not even entertain that thought of
Sure.
like, hey, I'm going to run more than 10 miles. More, I'm going to run 50 miles. Now I'm going to run 100 miles. And you not only thought about that, you actually made it happen. And you do it, and you seems like you have fun in it, which is weird. But
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just like training your mind. Like there's always points in that 100 miler where you're like, I can't do this. Like this is not fun.
yeah,
And then it's just interesting that like you figure out like it's just a problem solving game. Like, do I my feet need care? What do I need to eat? Do I need more liquid? All that kind of stuff. So it's like a puzzle to me during the middle of that race, figuring out that puzzle and um
wow. Have you have you ever counted how many calories you burn during a run like this?
I mean, you have like a heart rate monitor and things like that. I mean, there you burn thousands of calories over that
I mean,
time period.
I would shoot for like at least on a 50-mile run, I could shoot for at least 10,000 calories, please.
Yeah, I think that I just did a 50 miler in Utah that's like through the mountains. It's like 12,000 feet of climbing or whatever else. And I think I burned just under 8,000 calories is what that is. And the problem becomes is like you can only put about 250 calories in your body an hour while you're moving like that.
Mm.
So you don't get sick or whatever else. So it's just playing that game of like, okay, what can I put in? A lot of ultra runners consider it like an eating contest, like it's you running, but also what can you get in your body as well. So it's interesting.
Wow, my mom found that earthquake kit in her house recently. We were looking at it, and there was a big block of something that is considered food when there's an earthquake. Obviously, we live in Southern California, so that can happen anytime. We have some earthquakes here and there. So that had, I think, per square inch, like 100 calories or something. It didn't taste
Yeah.
good, but maybe that's something you should bring on.
Yeah, 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 sure. Something easy.
Advanced calories, amounts of calories inside of it, and I
Yeah.
know those liquid ones too. But that's wow, incredible. Congrats on doing that. We have some friends that do the um was it half Ironman or Iron
Yeah, sure.
Ironman here in the desert in December when it's not 120 degrees outside.
Sure.
It's crazy that yeah, what we are capable of, and we never. I guess we don't know until we try that your body can do this. And you said right, it's a mindset game too. I know what I'm going through, like a HIIT training. It's usually three phases. First phase is why am I doing that? I hate myself for committing to it. Then the next phase is like, all right, I have 10, 15 minutes left. I can do this. I'm hyped up. And then the last part is this euphoria that, hey, I've done it. I see the finish line. I'm feeling excited about it. I'm proud of myself. And I love that fact that I did that. So that's always a mindset game that plays with you. But
Yeah.
incredible. I can imagine
And you
running 50
well,
miles
and you
there.
can't feel that satisfaction, right, until you've gone through that pain of getting there. I mean, the end always feels great, right? Mountaintop always feels great to be at the mountaintop, but you gotta get there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's never easy no matter what that is, whether it be business or I don't
Yeah.
know, whatever.
There's not too many shortcuts you can take with that, and sometimes the shortcut means a longer path. So don't do that. Most of the
Yeah.
times, you know what needs to get done. You have to get running, pick up
Yep.
the feet, and get running. With that,
Exactly right.
Eric, thank you so much for this conversation. I enjoyed it, as you can tell. I look forward to staying in touch. I know what happened to your LinkedIn, so we'll bring that back up, and I can't wait to see your content there. And we'll have some content together as well. And I look forward, like I said, to see your next steps and how you guys grow and how the very good solar company continues to revolutionize the new era of solar that we're entering soon, the new days of solar. And I know that electrification isn't going anywhere, so we continue to have the need for it and the build and reinvent the infrastructure to make it happen. So you're contributing a lot to it. So thank you for that.
Cool. I appreciate it, Matt.